Oh, hey everyone, welcome to today's tutorial. Today we're going to be creating a stats comparison chart, and these types of charts are incredibly common in sports apps to visualize head-to-head statistics. For example, if we take a look at this app right here, this is the Real Sports app, and let's say we're watching a basketball game, right? You can compare the stats such as field goal percentage, free throw attempts, rebounds, so on and so forth between the two teams. And similarly, if we take a look at this one, for example, Apple's own sports app, it also features a section to showcase these team statistics and how they compare to the opposing team. So if we move on here, this is how the final product will look like. As you can see, we have our two teams. We have the stats here, for example. Since these are two baseball teams, we're going to use baseball stats. So these are the hits. And then you can see it's color coded to show which value belongs to the team. So if one team has more hits than the other, you can see that one bar is going to overtake a larger portion than the other one. So we're going to be focusing on sports for this one, but truthfully speaking, it's not just sports. You know, this solution is perfect for any time you need to do a head-to-head comparison. For instance, you can be creating a time management app that visually shows a user how much time they said they would dedicate to something versus how much time they actually spent on it, you know. So feel free to adapt it to your use case, but other than that, let's jump right into it. So to start, we have a brand new project. There's nothing in here other than what comes by default in the application. So go ahead and create a brand new project, and we're gonna go ahead and create a brand new struct. I'm gonna name this stats bar chart. And we're going to need a couple variables. Okay, so just to quickly explain what these variables are. So we have the team1 value and team2 value. So these are the values that are going to be shown for the first and the second team. Then we have the team1 color, team2 color. These are pretty self-explanatory. These are just the colors that are being used for the team, the colors that you're going to see on the actual bar. This is going to be the height of the bar, and this is going to be the stat name. So whether that's rebounds, possessions, turnovers, whatever the case may be. And then we need to create our initializer. So I'm going to use Xcode's autocomplete here. And the only thing I'm going to do is assign height a default value of 20. And I'm going to hit enter on these commas just so it's a bit more readable. Okay, so now that we have this, we can actually start creating the body. So the way I want to approach this is by going from top to bottom. So you can see here we have our team1 value, our stat name, and the team2 value. And you can see it's just going from left to right. So this is just a really basic H stack. So we'll start off by creating that. So we'll go into here and create our V stack. First, we need the body. My mistake. So we'll create a V stack. And we're going to need an alignment, spacing, and the alignment we're going to need is leading, spacing of 5. And we have our content now. And we're going to do the H stack. We're going to create the H stack here. And we're going to do text. And we need to cast this as an integer for our team1 value. And the font we're going to give this of headline. And we can go ahead and give this a spacer. And then we're going to need text, our stat name, same thing, font of headline, another spacer. And then from here, we can just copy this because we're going to need the team2 value. So go ahead, copy and paste team1 value into here and just change the 1 to 2. So that's basically the top portion, right? We have our team1 value, then the stat name, and then the team2 value. Really easy. So now we can go ahead and actually start creating the bar itself. Okay, so in order to create the bar, we're going to need a geometry reader. So underneath the H stack, go ahead and create a geometry reader and geometry, and give that a little spacing. And we're going to give this a frame height, and the height is going to be the height variable that we created up top here. So in this geometry reader, we're going to need an H stack as well. Give this a spacing of 0. And so the first part is going to be the team 1's portion of the bar. We need a rectangle. And we're going to fill it. The color is going to be the team 1 color, right? And then naturally, as you would guess it, we need a second rectangle. And this is going to belong to the second team. And then for here, for the H stack, we need a frame. And the height is going to be, again, using that same height variable. And the corner radius is going to be using height divided by 4. Okay, so now to get the frame of this, we're going to have to do a little bit of computation work here. So underneath, outside of the body, we're going to need to create a few computed properties. So first, we're going to need var total. It's going to return a double, and we need the team 1 value plus the team 2 value. So this is the sum of both teams' values. And then underneath that, we're going to need private var team 1 percentage. It's also going to return a double. And we're here going to need, if total is greater than 0, then it's team 1 value divided by the total times 100. Otherwise, we return a value of 50. It defaults to 50%. And then same thing here, team 2 percentage, double, and we're going to use autocomplete here. Again, just same thing. All we're doing is pretty much changing this from team 1 to team 2. Other than that, these are pretty much the same. So this is just the percentage of the total represented by the team's value. And, you know, if the total is greater than 0, then we do this. If it's not, then we return a default of 50%. So now that we have that, we'll do up here frame width. And it's going to be a CG float. And we're going to use our team 1 percentage that we created here. Divide that by 100. And then we're going to do multiply by geometry, size, and width. And as you guessed, we're just going to copy here, paste it here, and then just change that to team 2 percentage. So this pretty much takes care of the bar here. And I will explain why in a sec, why we had to default this to 50, because you might be wondering, well, why don't we just do 0, right? I'll explain why, and I'll show you why if we change this to 0, this will result in an edge case, and why we need it to be at 50. So now that we have all this, we can actually just start creating the actual we can start working on the content view itself. So moving to the content view, we're going to go ahead and create a variable, the team stats, and we do open and close brackets. And we're going to do for this, we're going to do hits. Okay, so here we have our team stats, and then this is just an array in the tuple format. So we have the stat name, we have the team 1 value, and then we have the team 2 value here. So then now all we need is a few other things here. We're going to need the name of the first team, the name of the second team, and then the colors representing the first and second team. Okay, so now that we have all this, we can go ahead and get rid of this boilerplate code here and start piecing everything together. So for this VStack, I'm going to give it a spacing of 20. And here, we're going to go ahead and insert an H stack. And again, we're going from top to bottom. So first thing we need is we're going to need the team names, and then we're going to need the team stats. So that's pretty easy. It's just 2 labels in an H stack that we already created. So in our H stack, we're going to have a label and then a spacer and then another label. And then underneath that, we're at team stats. But our team stats is going to be in this container, but we'll get to that in a second. So let's just first create this H stack. We have our label, team 1 name, And in the system image name, I'm gonna do a circle dot fill. And then the foreground color, just foreground color, I'm going to do the team 1 color. Again, our spacer. And then just copy this, paste that, and then just change it to team name, team 2 name, and then team 2 color. And then we'll add some padding on this. So if we were to run the project right now, you would see that we have our labels. So all that's missing is our team stats and the container that contains all the bars, all the stats and values themselves. So underneath our H stack, staying within our V stack, but underneath our H stack, we're going to make another V stack. This one's going to have a spacing of 15. And then this is where we're going to put team stats, font. As always, we'll give it a font of headline. Before I forget, let's get rid of the padding that belongs to the outermost V stack. And within this one, within this V stack, we're going to do a for each a team stats, right? This is what we created up here. Or team stats, ID 0, and then stat in. And we're going to do our stats bar chart. And here's where we have our team 1 value. So do stat.1, stat.2, team colors, team color 1, team 2 colors, team 2 color, and then stat name stat.0. So we'll go ahead and just hit enter, just so it's more readable. So if we go ahead and run this again, so we can see now it's coming together, right? So all we need is a little background just so we can, it looks just more appealing visually. So out here in our, in here in our VStack, we'll do padding. Then we'll do background, color, secondary system background. Give it a corner radius of 12 and then some horizontal padding. So you go ahead and run that now. There you go. We can see that we have our little container that holds all of our stats. And you can see this sort of mimics the Apple Sports app in a way. It's not one-to-one, but I think it looks visually appealing. And we can see what it looks like in light mode. This is dark mode here. So now I want to explain, going back to what I mentioned previously, why we have to default this to 50. So the reason is because there's this edge case where, and this can happen at, let's say at the beginning of the game, right? The game just started and nothing's happened. Like the team is going to have 0 hits, 0 home runs, right? Because the game just started. So let's say we default this to 0 on both, and both teams, right? The game just started. So we give this 0, 0, and we go ahead and run this, and look what happens here. So as you can see, because it's 0 and it's going to return 0, we pretty much end up with an empty bar. It's still occupying the space, but the problem is that it really should look like this, where it's split down the middle 50-50 with zeros as the values. And so that's why we need to default this to 50, because if we do that, if we default to 50, keeping the stats at 0, and we go ahead and run this, you can see that the bar is still there, and it appears 0, 0, and it's split right down the middle, which I think is a much better representation. And of course, you know, having an empty space with nothing in there is not visually pleasing for the user, and it's just going to confuse them. So this pretty much concludes today's tutorial. You know, I really hope you guys enjoyed this and you found this informative. If you did, please go ahead and drop a thumbs up on the video. Go ahead and subscribe for all my future tutorials, and leave your comments with any feedback or any future tutorials that you would like to see. Thank you.